Welcome back to the interview. I'm Gene Marrano. Our guest is Jim Sears from Center in the Square. And I wanted to mention real quickly, we talked about the Science Museum going to Tanglewood, the Historical Society of Western Virginia, the History Museum will go to the Shenandoah Hotel in the next little bit at the corner of Williamson and Campbell. Talk about when was this decision made, Jim, that we need to do a makeover on this building?
Yeah, I think we'd reached a crisis point. And you know, we'll make a decision that the building is old.
The physical plant?
The physical plant is old. I mean, over 10 million people have walked through that facility and have been involved in the museums and the theater and so forth in the 26 years. We're 28 years old now. And we just had never undergone any kind of renovation in reference to our HVAC equipment, electrical equipment, plumbing, those kind of things. And they were just old, and they weren't passing city code any longer, and we were patching things together to make it work. So there gets to be a point where you have to do some kind of renovation. Well, of course, in buildings, the majority of your renovation is tied up in mechanical equipment, electrical equipment, plumbing, those kind of things. So that's a big dollar. Then we looked at the museums, and many of those exhibits were 20, 25 years old. They were growing old and tired, and the public was responding from the standpoint that something's broken, or 2 or 3 exhibits on the floors are broken, or by the way, when I was here last year, you had the same exhibit as you had this year, and by the way, when I was here 10 years ago, you had the same exhibit. So
if you want to get people to return, that's death.
If you want to get
the same thing, right?
You can't be doing the same thing. And of course, there are traditional exhibits that you have in a museum like Science. You know, there's traditional things, but there's also things that you can add. And they can be phased in and out, and they can travel, and you can bring in traveling exhibits. So,
sort of like an art museum does.
Yeah, like an art museum does, or whether it's history or whatever it is. And so we said, you know, we need a remake of the building, but we also need to re-energize the building. So in looking at the reconstruction and the renovation, we said, let's add some things to it. Each of our organizations will renovate. Each of our organizations will add exhibits, and we'll make significant changes, but Center and Square is responsible for the rooftop, which will have a rooftop restaurant. It'll be a green roof. We're going to put a butterfly habitat in.
Which I think is really cool.
Oh, people will like that. That's going to be turned, that'll be given to Science to operate and run and collect the revenue. And then in atrium, we'll have 4 aquariums. We'll have the largest live coral aquarium within the Mid-Atlantic region. When we started planning this, it was going to be the largest live coral aquarium on the East Coast. But we've been in the 3-year or so planning process, and since then a large live coral aquarium has opened in Atlanta, and then I think it's one in Connecticut.
Curses.
So I know. So now we've got it down to the Mid-Atlantic region, and if this takes much longer, it may be in Roanoke. But you know, those kind of things will attract the public, and
make it maybe more of a tourist attraction outside of Roanoke?
Yes, and I think we'll re-energize the schools, because the school kids will, you know, now we talk about aquariums and fish, and we talk about the watershed, and we can demonstrate it from the rooftop where we'll have a pond to the 4th floor in the Science Museum where we have freshwater fish to the atrium where we have saltwater fish. And we'll have a 5,500 gallon aquarium, which is large. It's not like the Ripley's aquariums where you go in and see sharks and those kind of things, but it's quite an educational tool. It'll be quite impressive. Then there will be 3 other tanks. 2 will hold jellyfish, which people like. You know, some of these things were put in place both for educational purposes, but also to attract people. And people love jellyfish. The lighting will change, so you can have, you know, blue and green and red reflections. And then there'll be a tank of seahorses, and people like to see those. So, you know, we thought both about education and about what will cause Center to be a greater attraction, because if it's an attraction, it'll be a greater destination, which adds to the economics viability of the area.
And speaking of other things involved, I guess the eateries will be more incorporated into the center?
Yes.
Redesign?
Yeah, well, the Little Dipper is moving inside of Center and Square's atrium. So that'll be our in-house restaurant. On the roof, we'll have a restaurant that'll seat 125 people. So that'll be a large-scale, probably more of an evening restaurant than the quick sandwich in and sandwich out type restaurant. So we think that a restaurant on the roof will give great visibility to the region, and it will be an attraction. So we'll put that out. Now, we won't run that. We'll put that out for bid, and someone will take that and run it.
Just have a couple other minutes left, just a couple quick answers. You had to raise almost $30 million for this project, including tax credits.
Right.
Just talk about the ordeal that's been, the process that's been.
Well, the process is hard on tax credits because it's a complicated structure that we have to put in place. We're using both historic credits, state and federal, and new market dollars. And those monies are provided so that, particularly new markets, so it stimulates the economy, creates jobs, those type of things. Historic credits are there for the preservation of older structures or a structure that's in a historic area. You know, it's quite a legal arrangement to get those in here, but here's the advantage. Without those, we would not be bringing $18 to $20 million into the valley. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is money from outside the valley coming in. There's a stronger economic incentive than just raising money internally and circulating that money. So when you can bring $18 to $20 million in, it stimulates the economy a great deal. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we've done that on 2 other projects.
Mm-hmm. Has there been good support from the community, Jim, as far as
we've
getting this done?
Yes, we've had excellent support in terms of the capital campaign, which was a $9 million campaign, and we've exceeded that campaign. So we probably need to exceed it a little more, but we're about 9.5 million. I'd love to see us go to 10, and then we just bring the tax credits in.
Mm-hmm. What does it mean for a small city the size of Roanoke to have a center in the square, Jim? And what does this mean for your career, this phase of your career, to overseeing this makeover?
This phase of my career is ending. No, yeah, I just tell people, you know, as of May the 11th, I get my first Social Security check. So let's hope this goes along well, and you know, once this is in place and is running, and and the kinks are worked out, then I'm gonna take a look at it, decide what to do in the future.
Maybe sail off into the sunset.
Yeah, I'd like to teach, like to go, you know, like a lot of guys like to go in and teach.
Real quickly, what does it mean for the city the size of Roanoke to have a center in the square?
We would not have what we have in arts and culture if it wasn't for Center. If in 1983 we didn't combine these organizations and provide free rent and free housing, which we do, and what they're responsible for are their daily operating costs like staff. But they don't pay the electric bill, they don't pay for square footage, you know, it's their exhibits and their performances they pay for. If we weren't providing that supplement, that building structure, we wouldn't have the art museum or the Science Museum that we have, or the History Museum that we have, or the theater that we have. And we helped the Art Museum grow from Cherry Hill to where it is now. They moved out of Center, about 3 years ago, but we supported them through that process.
So it has a major impact.
Has a major impact.
Okay. We're going to have to leave it there. Jim Sears,
all right,
good. In the
hey,
Square.
Thank you.
Great to see you again.
Good seeing you too.
And thanks for being here.
Thank you.
This is The Interview. I'm Gene Marrano. We'll be right back.